Hello.
Hello. Hey, Jim.
How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, buddy. Good.
I don't see you, but I hear you.
Hold, you know why? I keep forgetting. There we go. I keep forgetting to do that.
There we go, man. How are things?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly, man.
All right,
Good.
let me turn this up here so I can hear you.
Am I coming in loud enough here?
Yeah. I think I had my volume a little low. Cool.
Okay.
And this, I'm not sure what are we doing this for? Meaning what? Not like what for, but like what is this for radio or for
Radio.
podcast?
Yeah.
Oh,
We
well,
support. We're alternative station here in Milwaukee. I've talked to you before when you came to the path, Riverside, a couple times, and I'm going to put it on the website, but I'll also use the audio on air Friday. So,
okay, great.
I just want to push your Netflix stuff, man. You got a lot of stuff going on there.
Well, thank you.
You are kind of Mr. Netflix between, in fact, what? There's technically three things. There's Mouthful of Shame from a couple years ago. Then there's the Degenerates, which is new. But then I always want to talk about The Irishman. Anybody that's related to that movie, I'm always fascinated with. A bit part, to me, being a Don Rickles fan, an important part.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I didn't even have to audition for it. Like literally my manager said, hey, they want you to play Rickles. And I think that Scorsese had watched a couple of my specials and then said, all right, yeah, this guy can do it. But I didn't have to go in and like audition. I just went in and had a conversation. So the fact that I didn't have to audition took a lot of what would have been terror away.
Yeah.
And I figured, hey, if they think I can do it, if I screw it up, hey, too bad, you shouldn't have given it to me. I didn't ask you for it.
Yeah.
So I think that made me much more relaxed.
It was yours to screw up if you had to, but you didn't. So
Right. Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy it came off okay. And I didn't even know if I was going to make the film until the night before. I had not seen the movie. Nobody would tell us what was cut. And I saw Ray Romano at the Comedy Cellar, and he was, hey, good job in the movie. And I'm like, that was how I knew I was in, was that I saw Ray, and he told me he saw the final cut of the film.
Yeah, I talked to Sebastian Maniscalco before it came out. And it's kind of cool that they use so many comedians in this thing. And the idea that, so he played Joe Gallo, which in real life, Don Rickles, if it's true or not, was supposed to go out to dinner with Joe Gallo the night that he got killed, I think.
I didn't know dinner. I know that Gallo went and saw him at the Copa, so maybe they were supposed to go to dinner after. I didn't know that. I do know that the fact that he got killed that night really helped me movie career wise, because they had to leave me in, because that night it was he was there. He went and saw Rickles, so they kind of had to leave it in.
Do you ever think, and I don't know if anybody's pitched this, but the idea a biopic of Don Rickles would be incredibly interesting, just his career, but his tie with, the Rat Pack. Rickles must have seen so many things that he didn't talk about.
Yeah.
He gave Sinatra shit all the time. He gave those guys a lot of static when he's on stage, but it was sort of in jest, and all the guys are like, yeah, we're cool. But behind closed doors or casinos or whatever, he must have seen something pretty interesting,
Yeah, I mean, look, he was one of the crew. Anything that happened that they knew about, I'm sure Rickles.
Yeah.
Hold on.
There we go. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Let me see. Can I hear you? Can you say something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I had a bit of a little camera thing, and I thought I unplugged everything. Yeah, I would love to see that. The things that Rickles must have known, especially being as close to Sinatra as he was.
Yeah.
And but yeah, he never blabbed about that stuff. He'd go on the Tonight Show. And now everybody is such information prostitutes. We just tell everything we see. There's no more secrets. The things he must have went to his grave with, the amount of people he probably saw cheating on their wives, or sleeping with what the things Rickles must have seen that he never talked about. Good point. I would love to know.
You do casino gigs, and he did casino gigs. The things that behind the scenes of casinos alone, the shakedowns and shit he must have seen. Guys, De Niro-like stuff of, in casino, getting your hand broken with a hammer or something like that. His stories are great, but he kept them to himself, obviously, to his grave. In fact, 3 years ago he died.
Yeah.
But I just always think it would be an interesting biopic, not in the way of musicians, where you're like on stage they were a god, and backstage family, obviously, I don't think you want to piss off his family or anything, but if you worked with them, God, that would be an interesting opportunity.
Well, they might not even know. Like, there's things that he probably just saw that he shut up about. Like, he was in Vegas. He was in mob Vegas. You know, Rickles was there in the 60s. So
Yeah.
he saw pretty much everything. And the stuff he must have seen backstage, the girls that Dean Martin or, you know, any of these guys came back with, or Carson, you know, again, 1968, 1975. There's so many years in there that Rickles was in Vegas, and he saw the mob Vegas. So, yeah, there's things that he probably never told his family. And there's things that he probably just saw and would, you know, BS with his friends and never talk about to anyone else.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Like 25 years ago, my parents moved from Wisconsin to Las Vegas to work until they retired. But my dad had a conversation with a cop on the strip about 15 years ago, and it's an older cop. And my dad's like asking about his job, and he goes, "I loved it being a cop in the 70s and 60s and 80s here in Vegas." He goes, "They didn't need us. The mob didn't want us in their casino. They wanted, we stayed on the street. We did our job. They threw the guys out they didn't want and made our job so much easier. Now we got to go inside. We got to drag people out. It sucks."
Yeah, the mob handled things a little differently back then. They'd probably just grab you and throw you out the door. They weren't worried about you suing them because I'm sure they weren't worried about the courts in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw mob Vegas. When I started going there, it was with Dice in like 1998. I think it was around my first time in Vegas. So I missed a lot of that mob stuff or all of it. It was corporate by the time I got there.
Yeah, it was already kind of cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah.
A couple days ago, Degenerates just kicked off on Netflix, which, again, with Malcolm Shane still on there. That was a solid, great 20-minute set you had, and it kicks it off, too. So you're the first everyone sees.
Yeah, that premiered actually New Year's Eve was when that came out. Yeah. That's been on for a while. And the feedback on it was really great. It was a 20-minute set, 25-minute set. And it was so much fun to do a special because you don't have to burn your whole hour of material. And we actually shot that in Vegas. And I was worried because Vegas crowds kind of suck because they're out of town, they're on vacation, they're tired. But then I realized we were shooting 3 miles from the actual strip next to the El Cortez Hotel,
Really?
Old Vegas. Yeah. And the people that showed up were mutants. I loved it. Like, they were local Vegas people. They weren't tourists. They were like, "Dude, I saw you 15 years ago with Dice at the Stardust." And I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted. These were regular Vegas people. You know, that's who I wanted to perform for because the tourists are just too irritating.
Your crowd work anyway. No matter where you go, every time I've seen you is always so good, though. Because a room can be bad, but once you go to an individual person, it almost always works. When I've seen it, it almost always works.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, usually if people are coming to see you, it helps because your name is on the door, so they know what you do, and you don't have to prove to them that you belong, as a comedian. But I didn't know how that one was going to go at all because there was 6 of us doing shows, and we were all doing limited sets, so I didn't know how that was going to go. That went a lot better than I thought it would.
What have you been working on lately? What's the last month been like for you?
Just kind of hold up doing the radio show every morning, and I do the UFC podcast twice a week. So, that type of stuff keeps me sane. Missing stand-up and all my gigs have been pushed back to like September, October. But I'm okay without stand-up for a little while because everybody's doing it. Like if I was the one who stopped moving and everybody else was kind of moving forward, I would want to throw myself off the balcony. But the fact that nobody's doing it and it sucks for everyone on earth, it makes it a little easier to swallow. Misery does love company.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to push this too. UFC Unfiltered that you do with Matt Sarah.
Yeah.
It's great. I do a morning show at the music station, but I love UFC. I've loved UFC for a long time. Milwaukee has got Anthony Pettis, Sergio Pettis.
Oh, Duke Rufus, yeah.
And Duke Rufus is obviously here, so his gym is intense. I trained once, like a week, twice. It's more than I can handle. I'm built for comfort, not for speed. So I wanted to see it and experience it. It was cool, but I love it on UFC Unfiltered. You always kind of get the shit beat out of you. I saw Chuck Zito. Was it Chuck Zito or was his brother?
Those were old radio clips.
Yeah.
I never did it on Unfiltered. We used to interview fighters and I would have them try moves on me or just to see what it felt like. And the first guy that ever did it was BJ Penn, put me in an arm bar. but I had Ronda Rousey put me in an armbar when she first started getting really popular. We interviewed her. I had Brock Lesnar put me in a heel hook. That really hurt. John Jones has kicked me and choked me. It was all just to feel like what's a real mild level of what these people experience. It's crazy that they fight through this stuff. I mean, because it was really debilitating, and they were taking it easy on me.
What got you in the UFC? What got you interested?
What got me interested was Rogan would, I mean, I've known Joe for so many years, and like in 2005, he would come on and bring young fighters, and then we started interviewing them. And I think Liddell might have been the first guy I interviewed, and like as far as real fighter.
Yeah.
And I just liked them all so much. And you would watch their highlight reels were all incredible. And they were so dangerous in every way. And yet they were all nice guys. Like, we had him on, we had Randy Couture, we had Rampage Jackson. Like on the older days, all those guys, Forrest Griffin. Yeah. And every one of them was a nice dude. And so I'm like, these are like not dicks like athletes usually are.
Yeah, no, they're always good interviews. For me, they're always better interviews than most other athletes because a lot of them they all come from different places.
Right.
Some are martial arts guys. Some just were like the best Big Ten wrestlers in college. And
right.
It's always interesting because like growing up, I always wondered if you go to college, you're wrestling in college or at whatever school, what you do after is usually like, you ran a gym or you were a gym teacher.
Right.
UFC opened the door for those guys to be like, all right, I'm going to pick up a little jiu-jitsu. I'm going to pick up a little of this, put these in my toolbox, and then I'm going to go be the best you can be in this league, which, Dana White, for love him or hate him, gives guys opportunity. And
yeah.
It's interesting to watch it evolve. A friend of mine started working with them in Vegas, UFC, 12 years ago when they were kind of, a little bit in the infancy. So watching it develop is always interesting. But yeah, the interviews with these guys are really great. They all got really cool stories.
Yeah, and they're just very genuine. And Dana's a really like a no BS guy. He's a guy who says exactly how he feels. If something doesn't work out, it didn't work out, or that fight sucked, or that was great. Like you always feel like how he feels about something. And I think that attitude is one of the things that's made the UFC feel like really fan friendly. Like I've been at many, many events, and I've watched the fighters come out and I see how they interact with fans, and they're so much better than like basketball players or baseball players. The fighters really seem to enjoy the fact that they are as liked as they are or as loved as they are by the fans. So it's just a great fan experience to be in that atmosphere.
It makes it really regional too, because I mean, when those UFC fighters are fighting in their hometown, like you notice that fight. That fight has a different feel and a vibe to everything else. Where, like you said, with baseball or football, a guy might play for the New York Giants,
right.
Might be from Oregon, but the two doesn't matter. It's not like people are going to come from Portland to go see a guy play football. Whereas when Anthony Pettis is fighting here in Milwaukee, the place is nuts. The place is just berserk. And he always says, it sucks. He's like, I'm allotted 30 or 40 tickets, and I got 200 people asking me for tickets. He goes, it's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I never get bored. It's funny. I love when people boo fights. Like, it's really funny when two guys are like, when they're on the ground or if they're fighting for position, and when people will boo, it's like there's two guys punching each other in the face for you, and you're booing because they're strategically, I mean, it's crazy.
Or you're this far from snapping a guy's knee out of place, and you go, you think this isn't action? You're like, this is taking every tendon and going like this, and you're like, because you're in the 300 section, you're gonna piss them off.
Yeah, and that's my favorite thing is the leg kickers. Like I've always said that. Like I love Justin Gaethje. He's fighting Tony Ferguson on May the 9th. That's the main event. Unfortunately, Amanda Nunes, I guess she didn't feel like she can get a full camp in. So she's not fighting. It looks like Dominic Cruz is making a return against Henry Cejudo. Like, I can't wait for that fight. Francis Ngannou against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I can't wait for that fight. Like, this card in May 9th is so goddamn good. Yeah. Every fight on the card is good. Like, I'm really looking forward to this. And I'm happy that Florida, good for Florida to call combat or sports essential, because there's going to be a lot of teams going down there to play.
Well, if WWE still runs down there, there's no reason where, and I'm sure that's what's going to happen in the next couple months, is sports are going to gravitate down there just to find an opening. And there's not going to be a crowd, but there's just going to be fighters. So that's what you want to see anyway. I'm always doing pay-per-view anyway from home. So it's going to be great to see.
Yeah. And the fighters I've interviewed, like some of them said that it was weird to hear the the corner yelling out the directions as loud as they do,
Yeah.
because you hear fan. So hearing that stuff, they said the stuff that you could hear. There's guy named Gilbert Burns I interviewed, and he said that you could hear stuff that you normally wouldn't hear, and that made him a little nervous.
That probably throws off your game. Speaking of live shows, I want to bring this up. It's an hour from Milwaukee, but Madison, October 16th and 17th, you're going to be at Comedy on State. Go to MadisonComedy.com for tickets. That show is still on the books.
What's the dates for that?
October 16th and 17th.
I believe that was moved, and I'm really happy we moved. Yeah. I think that was moved to October, which is great, because by then things should be okay. But everyone talks about Comedy on Stage. Everyone talks about that club and how great it is. And so this tour, that was one of the ones I absolutely wanted to do. I did a theater, I think, last time I was in Milwaukee, but everyone is talking about this club, and every comic who's worked it said it's great. And it's like one of those ones, like there was always Acme. I think that's in Minneapolis that I always wanted to do. There's a few clubs, which I don't even know if they're going to reopen or not, but there's a few clubs around the country that, there's the Comedy Works in Denver, or, a Comedy Cellar in New York, where every comedian agrees are great. And this is one of them in Milwaukee, Comedy on Stage. So I'm happy to be doing that.
Madison. It's only an hour drive from Madison, so it's quick. It's a really quick down the interstate kind of thing. It's a really cool club. Good. The other thing I want to talk about is I always like talking about Chip Chipperson when I talk to you, because I think in the last, say, 5 or 6 weeks, I say everybody has a Chip Chipperson in them, but nobody has 72,000 people following on Twitter that makes their inner guy a character. I think a lot more people probably are bringing out their Chip Chipperson inside of them and bringing it online, at least whatever side of this thing you're on, or whether you want to get back to normal, whatever. But my God, I'm enjoying the podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's so much fun to do, and it's weird to do it on Zoom. But, Anthony has been so good, and we've had Bobby Kelly on, and Karen Fian, and Christina, and Mark Normand, and Sam has come on, my co-host in the morning. So we've had a good group, and there's some other people I really want to get back on it. Like, Bobo wants to come back on. There's some other guys who are guests that want to come back on. So I'm going to have them on too. It's really fun to do from home.
I saw somebody made a Chip Chipperson action figure that looks like Iggy Pop.
Did they?
Yeah, I think they posted it on your.
Oh, then maybe it was the one I put up. Yeah, somebody maybe that. I've got a couple of gifts like that. I got like a Chip Chipperson tree elf thing, which I loved, like a chip in a tree. And then I've had a couple of those things, and someone's made me a beautiful Chip drinking mug that I don't sell because there's only one of them. People make some really cool stuff for Chip. I love it. I got to do a Chip soundboard, but I'm just lazy.
I think that would be a Chip soundboard would be great, but it's just funny that it lives. How do you compartmentalize Chip Chipperson and Jim Norton? Is it just always the internal stuff that you feel like you can't say because there's that much you don't say?
It's weird doing Chip, like your mind is working the same as it does any other time. Like you're always looking for the funniest thing to say, but sometimes the awful thing is the funniest thing to say in that moment.
Yeah.
But it's so freeing to be Chip because who cares if it sucks? That's the beauty of it. There's zero pressure to be good. If it's good, it works. If it's bad, it works. So that's the fun part of doing Chip. It really is, it's probably my favorite thing to do. Even though I did get sick of it at one point, and like anything else you're doing in life, you can get bored.
Yeah.
But I really, I do really enjoy doing Chip a lot.
I always think of it as a degenerate version of The Rock, where Dwayne Johnson is Dwayne Johnson in movies, but once he gets in the wrestling ring, he's The Rock, no matter how many years pass.
Right.
I think of Chip Chipperson.
Yeah.
The other side of that coin, if it's an iceberg, it's the part underwater that you don't see.
Yep. Chip is always there.
Who else have you been talking to pretty regularly? I mean, not part of Unfiltered or part of anything, just on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis. Any comedians that you're friends with? You've been kind of.
No, I'll stay in touch with Colin or Voss or Bobby or just my closest friends. But the guys that I want to talk to, we can have on the radio too. The good part is like I'm able, more than most touring comedians, I can stay in touch with my friends because you just have them on the air. Like, Sam Morril, Mark Norman, Andrew Schultz, Bobby, Voss, Colin, all these guys come on. So whenever I keep a good mix with my friends. So I'm never really that out of touch with them. So it's just the normal guys I've been talking to.
So it's been, it sounds like, I was wondering about that. It's been okay for you, like you said at the beginning. As long as other comedians aren't out there, doing gigs and stuff, you're with everybody else, right?
I'm with everybody else, and I'm able to work. I feel very lucky to be able to work. Like, doing radio, and it works from where we are. I have a good setup. SiriusXM gave me a really good mic. Not this one, but to broadcast, I actually have like a really good mic and a good, sound mixer and all that stuff. They took great care of me. So I feel very fortunate to be able to work. Like, you miss the little routine stuff and you don't realize how much you're going to miss it or how important it is to you until you can't do it.
Yeah.
So I'll never take any of the nonsense about my job. I will never take for granted again.
That's exactly. I've been doing the morning show from my basement for the last 4.5 weeks now, and it's just part of it's just the mode that you're in. Like, it's different with you. It's got to be when you're in front of a crowd, a live show. Your brain probably works a lot different than you do when you're just behind the mic,
right,
either alone or just with somebody else, because you're just that person you're connecting with. Down here, it's with work. It's like I go in the studio. Maybe it's the smells or the lights or whatever, but man, like, your brain kind of works different. It's in work mode, and you answer the phone different. I don't talk different, but it's just a mentality thing,
Yeah. But the fact that you can still do it, like when you see so many people struggling and like literally making no money and desperate, it's like, I'm really glad I'm in a profession that, first of all, is declared essential.
Yeah.
And second of all, enables me to make my living and not even just go mentally crazy without doing it. So yeah, I feel very, very lucky, and I feel terrible for people who can't work. It just sucks, and we got to do something.
We're having a rough go of it, but man, we'll say in the meantime, watching everything you're kicking out right now, the podcast, everything on Netflix again.
Well, thank you.
Do on there right now, mouthful of shame. Such a great set. It's a good way for people to kill time that are at home.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate the time, Jim. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
No, good talking to you. I appreciate it. Take care.
We'll see you in Madison in October.
I'm sure I'll talk to you before that as we're getting close.
Cool. Take care.
All right. Take care of yourself.